tonight. Just an easy spin. Legs are not thrilled with me tonight. I did throw cadence targets on this. Probably not a big deal. Evening, Old Slow. How's it going? You don't really sleep, do you? Because well, I guess it's not that late. Just with the time change, daylight savings time makes it feel a lot later than it actually is until I get used to it. Only what, 6:30ish here? Yeah, 6:36. Yeah, I feel the lazy. Tried to keep my legs nice and elevated today. My knee is, I don't know, my left knee just feels kind of tight. So, just trying to keep it nice and easy. Just kind of do some light zone 1 and then just do the base zone 2. To just spin them out. I guess it is. Yeah, I don't see those times a whole lot anymore. My work schedule has me at work by 7:30 a.m. So I tend to be in bed by 10 o'clock. But that allows me to be off fairly early, so I'm done working by 4:30, so can't complain that much. Nothing good happens after 2 a.m. It's good to be out of the way, get everything out of the way before that. Hey, sounds like a pretty good schedule. And no matter what I try to do, I mean, I'm not working this week. I took some vacation time, and try as I might, once 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm wide awake. Usually I've been awake for an hour before that, just trying to get back to sleep. But little to no good that does me. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And you said you're retired, right? So, I mean, if you're retired, you get to make your own schedule on the fly. So you should be coming up on your FTP testing to build me up, right? Yeah, unfortunately, I've seen the struggles that can cause. Oh wow, yeah, that I can certainly see how that could how one could impact the other. But it does seem that any of the active physical side effects are doing pretty good. I mean, you seem to be doing pretty well on the bike. That's a big plus. Yeah, I'm interested to see what your results are on that test at the end. Yeah, I went from the test just prior to starting that program. I was at about 208, and then hit 239 for the final test. And I knew that it was going to be around that because I'd done like the first Zwift Academy workout with that 8-minute effort in it, and based on that, I'd estimated around 235. Yeah, so from 225, it'd be interesting to see what it finishes up at. Well, that 20 minutes, it's rough. It really is, because there are various phases to it. I mean, after 5 minutes, you feel your both your brain and your legs go, oh, I can hold this, and they both say, let's go a little bit harder, but you have to hold back a little bit. And then, say at minute 15, your legs are going, I don't want to do this anymore. Your brain is going, we're almost done. And then that last minute is just pure grit your teeth and hold on. Yeah, to pace it, I just kind of took what I thought I could do and just aimed for a figure that once you do the calculation would give you, or would give me, slightly more than what I was aiming for, what I thought I would be aiming for. And I think I was pretty close. I don't think I left a lot on the table. Since then, I've done efforts that seem to hit pretty close to around that climb, that Alp climb I did last week. That was 53 minutes at 236 watts. And I probably left a little bit on the table on that. I probably didn't go out as hard as I could have. Although, I mean, if I had gone out harder, maybe I would have faded faster, because I was definitely not happy by the end of it. That was a pretty good effort. Yeah, if you're doing in workouts, you're doing 3x20 at what your FTP was set at. So 3 by 20 minutes at 225. It definitely sounds like you're making an improvement, since you'd be looking at 95. Your FTP should theoretically, obviously, it's not an exact science, but was it 95% of your max 20 minute? And if you did 3 at 95, theoretically 95% of that, yeah, you should do pretty well. Because especially if you, like, by the time you're 10 minutes into that third interval, that third 20-minute interval, I mean, if you weren't going to finish it, your legs would have been screaming by that point. I don't even want to think about how bad it would have been. Yeah, it sounds like a good a good target. Then at like 10 minutes is where I kind of would where I try and reconsider, or not reconsider, but look at my effort, see how I'm feeling, and if I'm feeling good, maybe bring it up a hair, but not a lot, because that last 10 minutes, the first 10 minutes goes pretty quick. The last 10 minutes does not. And as the minutes go on, it's a logarithmic progression of how long it feels like they take. Yeah, you want to gauge that that blow up, like right at the 19 minutes and 59 seconds, as close to that as you can. Hey Dan, how's it going? Thanks. Hope you're doing well tonight. Can't believe it's the 10th of November and I think I need to open Windows, because I'm not pushing it at all, and I'm already starting to pour some sweat. Crazy weather we're having, crazy year, crazy environment, crazy people. Oh, nice. How'd the race go? I'm not sure there's really ever an easy race. I don't know that I've ever had one. Does that route take you up all the big sort of skyway hills and everything? Because some of those are the route up to the highest point. That is one of the rough ones. Nice, nice. Yeah, at this point for me, finishing with a group is kind of where I'm at. I try and hold on to whatever group I can hold on to. I recently bumped up categories, so I know that I'm not going to be finishing at the front. But if I can finish with a group as close to the middle as I can, I consider that a win. For not necessarily a win, but I'm happy with the result at that point. That and looking at my power numbers for the ride, and as long as I'm in the ballpark where I think I should be and hitting targets, I'm happy with it, and any improvements will follow. Okay, yeah, all my racing, I race based on the categories just on Zwift Power. I haven't done anything organized beyond that. But I'm in the same boat. I just bumped up to B, and most of the time that I would have been doing C races, I was doing doing the Build Me Up training plan. So I wasn't really racing because I didn't want to interrupt that cadence and schedule. So it's quite a shock to the system going from a few C races a long time ago, or like in July, not in July, maybe August, something like that, and then jumping into B races. So yeah, I did one of the Zwift Academy races on Saturday, and stayed with the group for the first, I don't know what, it was a Richmond course, so down to the base of Libby Hill, and kind of fell apart at that point. So I just kind of rode with a small group the rest of the race just to get the completion. The bonus was I finished the Tron bike right in the middle, or right at the end of that race. Yeah, Libby Hill, the 23rd Street climb, and the Governor Street climb up to the finish are all, I mean, they can be pretty rough. I've done all those climbs in person, in real life. So I'm about 100 miles to the southeast of Richmond, and I was at the 2015 Worlds, and we rode them then. But yeah, that 23rd Street is up those cobbles. It's pretty rough. And I think, although like I said, it's been 5 years since I've done it, but I think that Libby Hill is harder on Zwift. So are you somewhere in the general vicinity of Richmond? I mean, if so, I definitely recommend it. And there's a lot of really good riding just around Richmond and heading further west into the mountains. Oh yeah, well that would be yeah, London to the US is that's a heck of a commute. Yeah, there's definitely good riding in sort of the mid-Atlantic if you, especially if you get inland away from the coast a little bit. The coast tends to be a little flat. Yeah, old Slow saw the elevation profile of a 40-mile ride I posted in Discord today. I mean, I can do almost 40 miles with 150 feet of climbing according to the map. But if you go, say if I went 40 miles to the northwest towards Richmond, I can start to get a little bit of climbing in. But yeah, with COVID and everything like that, I really haven't ridden outside almost at all this year. Maybe a couple times on the mountain bike, on some local trails, and just a couple sort of shakedown rides on my road bikes just to get back on the bike, because I've been off the bike for a little while. When I say a little while, I mean a couple years. I took this year as an opportunity to really, get back onto it. Picked up a smart trainer beginning of the year, and just went for it. I mean, I love the training that you can do indoors, just the structure of it. Always tried to get a little sort of structured training with a power meter outside, but I mean, it's so dependent on traffic and road conditions and everything like that. Whereas this, yeah, right now I'm just doing a recovery ride. Got a workout programmed into Zwift, and I'm not even paying attention to the power figure. It's just, so I'm just keeping my legs moving at a comfortable cadence, and Zwift is doing the rest. Yeah, a little slow. I mean, the best I can do is there's a couple good-sized bridges near me that probably have, they're probably the biggest one is no more than 6%, and from base of the climb to the top is probably 1 kilometer long. Another person rowing. Really starting to think that there should be something to this rowing to go along with cycling. And I started to look into the rowing last week, I guess, and saw that Water Rower has a rental program that I feel is very, very reasonably priced. So if I can get in on that, I'd be more than happy to at least rent one to try it out and see how that goes. So, in terms of rowing, what is a ultra distance rowing event? Oh, so why does it have to be one or the other? It would be both. The Xbox is already on its way. Or well, the order is in. And I don't know if the purchase program that Microsoft has put together on that is international or not, but for $20 more than the cost of the Xbox Live Ultimate, whatever it's called at this point, you get the hardware along with it. So I went for that. Oof. Wow. So 1 million meters, so 10 people doing 100 kilometers each. Oof. Wow. That seems like it would take a while. Yeah, I don't ride a bike 100 kilometers that often. Ah. Yeah, I'm trying to... Oh, wow. I'm trying to envision the sort of environment you would do that in, because those boats are not exactly the most... I would imagine they're not easy to turn around at the end of each lap. I can't imagine they're terribly maneuverable. I would assume you need a fairly good lengthy straight of oh, just indoor on indoor rowers. Gotcha. That makes a lot more sense, because like, where could you find a river with that much, that long of a straight to make it really logistically feasible? Yeah, okay, indoor makes the logistics a lot easier. But you're leaving us hanging, so you said these were attempts at records. Did they were they successful? Yeah, with a good steady state, I mean, I'll just kind of zone out if I just put some music or an audiobook or a podcast or something like that in my ears. just so that I can have something to not necessarily focus on what's going on, just let the legs do what they're going to do. Ooh, wow, yeah, it's 540 kilometers. So like 350-ish miles or so. Yeah, that's a hell of a distance. Yeah, here in the States, there's a few long distance rides like that, but they tend to be broken up with camping every night. Like, several like states that'll have like a full, like you'll ride the width of the state, but you'll do like 130 miles or something like that, and stop for the night. There'll be it's like kind of a rolling party of a bunch of cyclists. I'm not sure that I have those in me. I certainly don't have the bike form. I don't have anything that's relaxed enough that I'd want to be on for that long. My bikes are not super aggressive, and I've made them less so as I've increased in age, leveled up in age, however we want to call it, and with that, bringing my bars up a little bit and bringing them in so I'm not so stretched out. But still nothing I'd want to do 540K on. Oh, you and me both, man. I don't know if you've watched the numbers on the number of daily new cases here in the US, but it's terrifying. So at this point, I go out to do shopping. That's more or less it. I've been working from home since March, so I've been in the office like 3 times since then. So yeah. And I'd say that I'd hope that things are going to get better now that with a hopefully better political climate, but the issue is well beyond politics. So yeah, I mean, it was never politics, but it was certainly inflamed and fueled by. I mean, you had somebody that had a demagogue at the top who's still there, feeding all this nonsense down from the top. But I don't want to get out on a rant. It looks like you tried to filter that. Yeah, no, I don't have a keyboard close enough to allow that through. It's a good. My computer's a good 2 feet away from me, but yeah, it's just terrifying that so many people. I mean, he has a cult that's grown up around him. I mean, that literally think he's God's chosen to do something. Lead the U.S. to the promised land, which I guess is death through international pandemic and racism, I guess. Who knows? But the next 70 days are going to be a circus. Right, yeah, and it's that's one of the big issues with everything being at the state level. I mean, I live 10 miles from. I'm in Virginia, sort of mid-Atlantic coast of the U.S., 10 miles north of the North Carolina border, and I can drive 11 miles south and be subject to completely different regulations, which is ridiculous. Like, so if Virginia wanted to do something about it and North Carolina doesn't, it doesn't matter because everything will just spill over from North Carolina anyway. So, I mean, what are you going to do in a situation like that? And I'm not even saying like a total shutdown, although we're getting to the point where that is not necessarily a bad idea. But just common sense. I mean, the fact that wearing a mask became a political statement. Yeah, I've seen on the news that the UK is going through a new round of shutdown, or at least restrictions. So, I can imagine that that's making things very difficult. And not that I personally have any love for your prime minister over there in the UK, but if he's making that call, there's one call that I don't necessarily disagree with. Yeah, and that's really the only ways we're gonna be able to get a handle on it until there's a vaccine. Because, I mean, yeah, the immediate effects are scary enough as it is. I mean, my parents are. My father turned 70 this year. My mother's just a little bit behind him. So they're in the age group where, you know what, I don't really want to risk it. So I haven't even been over to my parents' house, which is literally 7 miles away from me, since the beginning of the year. So, because I don't want to bring anything to them because of the short term, and then now you're starting to see that some of their studies are showing that it's more than just physical effects. There are some studies, which I would have to assume are in various stages of peer review, that there can be mental side effects, that can result from it as well. And that's in addition to permanent lung damage. So yeah, I don't want to. I'm not willing to take the risk to spread it to anybody else. In my demographic, I'm at this point reasonably fit, reasonably healthy, 43 years old, so I should be okay if I were to come down with it. But I'm not going to risk spreading it to people that wouldn't be good with fighting it off. I don't want to be that selfish. And I know that when all of this really started to perk in the US, I had come down with a fairly significant cold. So I was a little concerned at that point. I'd gone to the doctor, and as all the reports started, and I never got tested. But since then, my girlfriend has been tested, and I mean, we live in the same household, so she tested negative. So if either of us would have had it, we would have most likely given it to pass it on to the other. So if one of us tests negative, we most likely both would be negative. So I'd like to keep it that way. So where are we at? About 37 minutes in. Oh, wow. And I'm not even sure what would happen in terms of deployment here in the US if that were to happen to me. My company has unfortunately gone through a couple rounds of downsizing, which is a very nice way of saying fired a bunch of people over the last 2 years, with the second round that happened earlier than this year, sort of in response to the anticipated troubles that we're having. So I can only imagine that it would just hasten my departure as well, even after almost 20 years with the company. The employee protections are not exactly what I would call robust. So, because robust employee protections is socialist or something. I mean, unions are almost non-existent. So, yeah, it's very much a employer's market, especially at the moment. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are lots of businesses suffering. I would not want to be in the restaurant business right now, live entertainment, anything of that nature. But my company is a big company, big multinational, global corporation. So we'll be okay for a while, or at least as a company. So some kind of stability like that should, you would think, would be part of proper planning on behalf of when your parent company is a global Fortune 500 company. Yes, that's my political rant for the evening. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like music venues. I used to go to a lot of, see a lot of live music. Not like big amphitheater type shows, but smaller venue clubs and halls and stuff like that. So, and those are all just completely shut down at this point. Well, I'm from Massachusetts. That's my home state, and up in the Northeast, the employee protections are going to be a little more robust than they are down here in Virginia. Basically, as the state becomes more red or Republican leaning, the worse the employee protections become. Yep. So, and that's not to say that the blue states don't have their own problems. Massachusetts has its own problems. Not exactly the greatest record in terms of things like race relations and stuff like that up there in Massachusetts. But hopefully things are going to start changing. Well, I thought that they were going to start changing in 2008, but we've seen what happens with that. It's the hazard of being hopeful sometimes. You can watch what you think is some progress being made, and then watch it sliding right back down. But it's a long-term project. Just have to keep trying. It's ingrained in this at this point. The two-party system and the electoral college are outdated, outmoded. Just they don't help anything. Yeah, the American political system is by design slow to change. It's impossible to get things done quickly. It runs at a snail pace, and that's not a bug, that's a feature. So, oh yeah, the last election, I mean, out of the last 4 elections, 3 of them were won by the candidate that lost the popular vote. That makes a lot of sense. And the process that would need to happen to change that would require an amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which is by design, a difficult, arduous process that requires 2/3 of the states to be on board, and all those states that have more power because of the Electoral College aren't going to give that up. They're not going to vote against themselves in that matter. So, what are you going to do? It's just a matter of what is the. We just have to hope that the generations coming up now, the young people seem to be in the right place to move things forward, because the baby boomers and Gen X have proven that we're not going to move things forward. So, and I would like to just go on record of how much it pains me to just be able to say the kids these days and mean people 20 years younger than me. Literally, kids that could be my children that are becoming functioning adults. See, I'm not necessarily sure I agree with it being more extreme, but less willing to deal with something just because it's the way it's always been. That they demand that that people be treated as human beings. For example, that the police can't just kill citizens and use excessive force on citizens just because they're police and get away with it. They demand change, because change never comes from waiting on it. Change is only going to come when you take it. And I do appreciate that in the younger generation that they are willing to make that. I mean, you certainly can find some that are definitely acting in the wrong. But I mean, take the civil rights movement in the U.S. in the 60s. It didn't happen because those in power wanted things to change. It happened because the powerless took action and demanded change, and were demonized for it. Beaten, had police dogs let loose on them, water cannons, and were demonized in the press at the time. So, kind of hard. I'm not sure that we necessarily have the long-term perspective at this point to be far enough removed from it to really see it through, see the full big picture. Yeah, but then on the flip side of that is a lot of people don't seem to really grasp how recent some of these things are. I mean, I was born in the late 70s, so my parents were born in the early 50s. When my parents were born, it was illegal in many states for a black man and a white woman to get married. So it's not like we're generations and generation removed from just backwards ass stuff like that we're still feeling the results of. So oh, absolutely. I mean, we are close enough like just from a temporal basis that, I mean, I'm going to make a statement right now that sounds like it's absolute rubbish, that there's no way that it could be true. But we are close enough in time to the U.S. Civil War, the end of the U.S. Civil War, which ended in 1865, that the last Civil War pension being awarded to a Civil War widow, that woman died either this year or last year. So, I mean, yes, obviously this ended up an old man that had fought in the Civil War in his youth, married a young woman when he was elderly, but still, just the fact that we are close enough that a bridge between the ages was possible. I mean, consider that there are elderly people alive today that relatives that they theoretically could have known, could have, like grandparents, like say somebody that's 90 years old today, say their grandparents were born, I mean, could have theoretically been born in, let's see, so 90, say they were born approximately 1930, figure their parents born 1910, 1920, so they could have had a late birth. Somebody that could have been born into slavery could have grandchildren alive today. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, now 102 is a good long life, but it shows how long, or it shows what the human human lifespan can be. So, yeah, 102 is a good long one. I hope she had a good, long, healthy one. Gotta say, this nice, easy spin is much more relaxing than going out and trying to kill myself every day. Dan, are you saying that your mother was born in 76? Am I reading that right, or are my glasses just smudged? Because if so, that means that I'm your mother's age. Oh man, yeah. I mean, she's only a year older than me. Being behind a keyboard and a screen, the great equalizer. Got the gray growing in that's kind of aging me a little bit. Okay, gotcha. I don't even know what route I'm on. Let's see, it has me on Three Sisters. So, does Three Sisters do the radio tower? I don't remember. Oh, that's very true. I mean, a 50-year-old playing video games now is not unusual. I mean, I always would have thought that streaming and stuff like that was a young person's game, but there's definitely a bunch of us that are not necessarily the youngest of people that are starting out doing that sort of stuff. Radio Tower, the bonus climb. I just don't remember if Three Sisters goes up to the top or not. Yeah, so at this point, I'm still. If it doesn't go up, I may be able to get this badge done tonight. So I'm not necessarily gonna stick around to do any extra climbing up the volcano at the end, unless I'm really close to the end. But an easy spin up the bonus climb would certainly take a while. That is a huge stand. Yeah, Dan, at the top here, there'll be, this is the epic KOM climb. Up here, just past the summit of it, there'll be a left turn that goes up to another climb that it's short, but it's very, I mean, it's a fairly steady 13-14%. It's unpleasant. Absolutely, and I love my toys. I don't have any children of my own, so I can buy toys for myself. Now we're getting about 30 minutes from the end, which is by the time I start thinking about, boy, I wonder what I'm going to have for dinner. At this point, I always think about the worst thing I could possibly eat, because that always sounds the best. But then I think maybe I shouldn't have an entire pizza for myself, or a big pot of mac and cheese just for myself. Although I'm probably not hydrating like I should be. It's always something that I'm not good at. Calorie counting. I turned it into a math problem. Anything I can break down into math problem I can attack very easily. So I just shot to have, oh, yep, bonus climb. So we're going up to the tower. But I aimed, like when I was in firm weight loss territory, I aimed for a 1,000-calorie deficit every day. So I would have averaging 7,000 calorie deficit per week. Approximately 3,500 calorie deficit yields about a 1 pound weight loss. So, yeah. Yeah, so as long as I maintained that on average, some days were not some days I didn't necessarily need it. Other days like if I had a really big ride, because the days you ride more, you can have a little bit more. But sometimes those days needed to even out the lighter days. But now that I'm done with that, my weight's pretty well leveled out. I'm at about 140 pounds on average, so what, 64-ish kilograms, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah, I'm feeling now that I'm eating a more rounded, larger diet, I can last a lot longer, because it does, eating at a deficit like that and riding, you do, your endurance does suffer a bit. Recovery suffers a little bit. So now I'm hoping that this is going to help me. I don't want to necessarily build a lot of muscle mass, but I do want to build the appropriate muscle mass. I don't want to get any bigger than I need to be. Trying to add core work to my routine. Theoretically, add some rowing. Like maybe do 4 days on the bike a week with then 1 day of rowing, 1 or 2 days of rowing, or alternate sort of 3 days on the bike, 2, 4 days on the bike, 1 row, something like that. So although I guess, I mean, you've seen what the topography is around me. I don't, being a lightweight climber doesn't gain me anything riding outdoors around here. Yeah, I mean, you're certainly not. Yeah, I mean, at 73K at that height, I mean, it's not like you're big. And dropping the, what, 7 to 11-ish pounds. Getting a little better at doing metric to imperial conversions in my head. I'm 5'9". I honestly have no idea what that is in metric. I just know that I'm very much average height. Yeah. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I would not, if there was a ballot initiative to move the U.S. to metric, I would support it in a heartbeat. The fact that it's seen as some socialist plot to change the well, I mean on a widespread and more just everyday scale. I mean, nothing. There's pretty much nothing in the U.S. that people pay attention to that is meaningfully labeled in metrics. Sure, foods and things like that, but people see the pounds and ounces right before that. Our roadsides are almost exclusively miles. Occasionally it'll be in like for long distance signs will be in miles and kilometers, but that's rare. I mean, we still have people that think that English is the official language of the US, so yeah, Dan, here we go. This is where it gets really fun if you're not in nerd mode. 17%. Yeah, first time I did an event when I first started Zwifting. I was a lot heavier, a lot less fit. I didn't know anything about the course that the event was on. I finished. We get to the top of the epic KOM. I'm like, oh, thank God that climb is finally over. Then it makes a left turn on something that's calling a bonus climb. Since I've said, I live in the flatlands. All my gear is, I mean, a standard crank set. I'm on old 10-speed stuff, so I had a 1123 cassette. So it was a pretty good slog up the first time. I've since replaced that crank with a compact on my trainer bike. Since I lost some of the big end of the gear, but I'm not a sprinter, so I'm never going to be using that part of the cassette on the big ring. So I gladly traded it off. And the craziest thing I think about this climb is that there's no official Zwift segment for it. It's purely there for bragging rights. Somebody doing an FTP test. They'll get a ride if I can get to it in time. And my last FTP test ended right at the top of this climb. Yeah, especially at this point, my knees don't need that extra torque. And I'm very much a spinner. Like this, like I've been spinning at like 80 RPM, just spinning along, and this is really, 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 really slow for me. Like if I'm riding or on it, I'm comfortable, at most comfortable around 95. And especially as you've described the terrain around your home, yeah, a compact definitely makes sense. Yeah, I'm getting ready to put 12 speed on my mountain bike, and Sunrace makes a cassette that that will work on a 10 speed. It's a 12 speed cassette that will work on a 10 speed hub, free hub, and it has, I think its biggest gear is a 48. I mean, you can damn near pedal up a straight up a wall with that. Yeah, so like I'll be a 1x up front, so I'll be like my smallest gear will be like a 34, 48. It's just amazing how big those gears are getting in the mountain bike world with the those long gauge derailleurs with the clutch systems. Right, yeah. Yeah, and my biggest gear on that before I swapped over to the compact was a 52. So even a slightly bigger gear from there. I mean, that's not to say that I didn't occasionally end up in a group way over my head in a group ride with the group pulling away from me at 33 miles an hour on the flats. Just with this there's just some people that are next level scary fast. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Very, very, very much so. Yeah, I honestly don't really even pay attention to speed. I mean, whether it's alone or the blob or anything like that. I just pay attention to work being done and the total work done at the end. Just how many kilojoules I've done. Since that's what really allows me to figure out how much I can eat. That's the important number. That and like people, if this were a real descent, nobody would be getting to 100 kilometers an hour on this because you'd die at the end of it. You'd go right off the road, right into a snowdrift or off a cliff. They say put on a TT bike, pop an arrow, power up there at that 17% downgrade. Get your best shot at the 100 kilometers an hour badge. I've yet to give it a try. There we go, just one more of those repeats to go. 5 at 125 and 10 at 150. We'll see how far along I am, how close to the volcano I am. See if I want to give it a go and get it on the way up. So, I mean, it's not a long climb. I mean, I don't have to spin it hard. All right, Dan, be good. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by. I just hit 1.5 million drops, and I don't really know that there's anything I want to buy. Yeah, this little uphill has always felt kind of like a you get a little recovery and it's like, oh, one more little bit of climb. All right, yeah, definitely pretty late over there. But thanks for stopping by, keeping me company. Makes it go a lot faster when there's somebody out there. Alright, so you be good and enjoy the rest. Take it easy. So we got 10 more minutes at 150. And since I want to keep this a nice light ride, when that 10 is up, we'll probably call it a night, even if unless I'm really, really close to the volcano. I don't want to be tempted to push these any more than it needs to be pushed. Don't want to add more strain to the legs when I'm trying to just keep them a little more just spun out. Volcano's just right there. put one or two more of those intervals in this workout, it probably would have made it. At least we know for the future. Maybe give that a go next time I need a long recovery ride. I certainly don't want to just stop the workout now and add something in, because that would eat any experience for the last 17 miles. I mean, it's not a ton, but every little bit helps. How the legs feel, I may want to do the same thing again tomorrow. I'm not sure. But I definitely probably, how's that for being definitive? Need more zone 2, long zone 2 work to work on the endurance. I can go hard for 20, 30 minutes, but when I get to those hour efforts, I mean, I can go, I feel that my FTP is fairly well set. I think that my actual, what I can do for an hour is right about in that realm. But like say for a race effort, where I need to do 30 minutes at a increased tempo, like say 120 of my percent of my FTP, that's when things start to fall apart. Needs a lot of endurance work for that, I think. I'm not a coach, so if anybody has any thoughts on that, by all means, I'm all ears. So I do an FTP test. FTP tests always get a right on. Because those are seriously unfun, always. And if it's not unfun, you're not doing it right. Speed's moving along pretty good. Hovering around 5 watts per kilogram. I would take that. Hopefully keep it for the full 20. Yeah, this is also where on a easy spin, the back starts to get unhappy with me. So, camera is more angled for riding with the hands on the tops or on the hoods. And since the camera is just on my bars. Under 4 minutes to go. Yeah, we're not even gonna make the volcano, so not tempted to push it, which is for the best. Nice, we'll get a nice round 20 miles in. That'll be good. Like we were discussing earlier, speeds aren't exactly I can see the arch just at the base of the volcano. That's okay. Especially now that I've finished the Tron bike, I don't feel the need to get any extra climbs. At this point, just gonna complete the other challenges just on a natural basis as they happen. They'll happen. The end, right? The end. Alright. Well, I do thank everybody for coming around. Keeping me company. Tomorrow night we're either going to be doing this, just maybe slightly longer, or if the legs feel good, we'll do Zwift Academy workout. I want to say number 6. Whatever's after Prime FTP. because I am still trying to get those done. So, but everybody be good, everybody be safe, and I'll catch everybody later. Bye-bye.